During quarantine, I have found reading graphic novels to be rewarding. I revisited Watchmen and dove deep into Brian K. Vaughan's catalog of classics like Y the Last Man, Saga, and Paper Girls, so when Atomic Wolf and Walkabout Games' Liberated made its way to the Switch, I was pretty stoked. The idea of reading and playing through a comic book series that approaches data privacy, authoritarian governments, and an increasingly automated world was intriguing, but this concept wrote checks the game couldn't cash. Liberated plays out over 4 comic book issues and focuses on a set of characters living in a dystopian city that is governed by a social credit system. Most of these characters are part of a rebel group known as the Liberated that has dedicated itself to dismantling this system through cyber and physical attacks. The story is told through comic book panels and features action platforming puzzles and quick-time event sequences. The most striking feature of Liberated is its wonderfully drawn black and white noir art style, which strongly complements the mood and theme of the story. Other than Love and Rockets, Persepolis, or From Hell, I couldn't think of a more visually engaging two-toned comic. Single panels often show an entire conversation or action, something the printed medium cannot achieve, and the lettering used throughout each issue is engrossing. Unfortunately, Liberated's gameplay features heavily detract from its art and storytelling style. When you reach a wide center panel in the comic book, the live-action levels begin. You are typically tasked with killing surveillance officers and drones, pushing objects or flipping switches to solve puzzles, sneaking through built-in natural environments, and even taking a swim. These tasks are impeded by a ton of issues. The action platforming inputs are laggy, the frame rate is inconsistent, aiming your weapon is wildly sensitive, and the stealth elements are illogical. For instance, you can take down a surveillance officer and have another officer walk over his body with no reaction as if nothing had happened. Overall, it's clear the developers of Liberated had an incredible creative vision. They were simply unable to execute it well. It would have been a more enjoyable game for me if it were a pure visual graphic novel that replaced the gameplay with more comic book panels and perhaps even issues that had a staggered release like print comics. That on its own would have been very unique given the current video game market, but due to undercooked gameplay mechanics, performance issues, and a narrative that peaked too early, Liberated sadly underwhelmed.